Morning, everybody. We're here in Manhattan. The UN is right behind me over here, and we are on our way to meet the rabbis and make a statement this morning. We're glad you're joining in, and hopeful that you're joining in also in prayer and in spirit. It is time for America to speak up on what's happening in Iran, what is happening with Ahmadinejad. This tyrant should not be allowed access to American airspace. He should be allowed to stay in American hotels. Shame on the Hilton. You need to call the Hilton hotels who have given him rooms here in Manhattan and tell the Hilton that you're disgusted with the fact that they would give harbor to this genocidal criminal who should be brought up on war crimes for inciting genocide. So we're just a block or two away from the UN, and some of the team is here. Tom Lahara, Adam McKinley behind that camera, Hannah on that camera, Sheree Allen from Nashville. Hey Sheree.
Hey!
You take pictures.
Yep.
And here's the East River behind us. Many of you were with us a couple of years ago when we had the Jerusalem prayer banquet at the United Nations, which amazingly we ended up having it on the day of Israel's independence, 60 years prior. So we're glad to be back here again. We've got some history with this building, and I don't know what to expect today, but we're going to see what's going to happen. Rabbi Yacov Kermair, who so many of you met at the Jerusalem prayer banquet. We're live right now. We're live on the web. Rabbi Kermair from the Fifth Avenue Synagogue, he gave the stirring invocation at the Jerusalem prayer banquet this year. And Rabbi, then you hosted a group of our teenagers, our summer discipleship program teenagers, came and spent a Shabbat with you.
It was a thrilling Shabbat with those teenagers. They actually came, they prepared written questions for me about all aspects of Judaism and advocacy for Israel. It was so heartening to see a group of evangelical youth who came and spent time not at the beach during the summer and hanging out and doing what many of their friends were doing, but they took off time to study, to devote themselves to spiritual matters, and to learn how to be better advocates for their faith and for Israel. It was just heartening, it really was.
Now we talk about spiritual matters, and you're an Orthodox rabbi. You take your faith very, very seriously. It influences everything that you do. Why, as a spiritual man, an Orthodox rabbi, why are you here today in what could be perceived as a political statement? Why does your faith motivate you to be here today?
I think our common faith is a faith of justice, and we just finished the day of Yom Kippur, which is known as the Yom Hadin, the Day of Judgment. And I think what our basic message is that this horrible man, Ahmadinejad, is a person who should not be coming here to receive a statesman's welcome. He should be put on trial and brought to judgment. This is a man who has brutalized his own people, who has incited the world to genocide, is racing to achieve the weaponry to wipe Israel off the map. In his own words, this is a man who should be brought to justice. He should be put on trial and locked away for the rest of his life. That is what he deserves, and I think that is a religious sentiment. That is not a political sentiment.
And finally, how does that reflect for you this growing friendship between the Jewish and Christian communities?
As a student of history, there is a bit of a surprise element to it, I have to admit. Obviously, ours is a long, blood and tear-filled history in terms of our interaction with the Christian community, certainly in terms of its various Orthodox forms in past generations. And it is really so inspiring to have such good friends in the evangelical community, people who see eye to us on so many issues, many social issues, but certainly in terms of support for Israel and understanding the justness of her cause. It is something which really warms the heart, and it really, it creates a certain partnership of spirit that I think hopefully will inspire the world to really see the cause of Israel and to see how spirituality, faith can be a wonderful source of goodness in the world. One of the horrible outcomes of people like Ahmadinejad and his policies and the Ayatollahs and many of the other religious extremists is it gives faith a bad name.
Right.
And I think the evangelical and Jewish partnership is part of giving faith the good name that it deserves.
Absolutely. We are really excited about our new friendship with you, and we're thankful for your spiritual leadership.
Christians come out of the pews, out of hiding, and be the light that God commanded us to be, and that we have to put activation to our faith. And because our faith is based on Judaism, our Mashiach is Jewish, Paul was Jewish, we're totally integrated. It's our foundation, it's the foundation of our faith, and we must show our support. We must be active, and we simply must rise to the occasion in this day and age, especially with Israel being endangered.
Eagle's wings, okay, got it. And so what do you hope to accomplish today? Why are you here?
You know, we're here because the reality is that there's a religious extremist who's making serious genocidal threats, who is near nuclear capability in Iran, and we believe it's a clear and imminent danger to all peoples who are concerned with basic human rights. And America and the West, and really the whole world, needs to be awakened to the reality of the threat that Ahmadinejad poses to all peoples of goodwill.
Choosing this form of protest to make a human change, why using this form of protest when it is one that's disruptive and would maybe put some people off to your cause, possibly?
Well, I think this protest has been obviously coordinated with the various civil authorities. They're very aware of it. It's not being done in any kind of spontaneous way. And I think we need to do something that gathers the attention of press, and that's why you're here interviewing us, because we're here making a statement.
What, if you could say anything, if you could go into the United Nations, you could speak to the Assembly, what would you say if you could walk in there right now before you go up?
I would say that it's time to really follow through on the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which guarantees religious freedoms for all people, which guarantees basic human rights that are being violated by the regime in Iran. And so we need to get serious about that, not give quarter and welcome to someone like this, who's publicly called for the genocide of Israel in the Middle East, who's made incredibly inflammatory statements. We need to hold to the basic principles that the UN espouses, and we need to get serious about those. And I'd like to see not just talk about sanctions, but sanctions that genuinely would bring an end to the threat that Iran poses.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. We're here. The crowd is continuing to grow here just outside the UN, and a few minutes from now we'll get started, I guess, on this human chain. A couple questions?
No problem.
This is Marvin Belsky, and Marvin, you're heading up an organization called
Human Rights Coalition Against Radical Islam.
And who's in this coalition?
In this coalition,
what group of people?
This is a unique coalition, unprecedented, because we have a coalition of people who've been under assault by radical Islam throughout the world, and that includes Hindus, Sikhs, Coptic Christians, Lebanese, Jewish, Sudanese, and a host of others, and in the evangelical Christians. And we have many people in support. So there is no other organization that I know of worldwide that has this kind of coalition of disparate ethnic groups, different religions, who understand that the enemy that's going out to destroy humanity is radical Islam. We don't attack the religion of Islam.
You have some Muslims that are actually have been a part.
Yes, we have Zui Jasser's there, very wonderful, heroic Muslim leader. Tawfiq Hamid spoke at our Times Square rally. Muhammad Yaha, who's a Sudanese Muslim, fighting for his freedom, was there. So we have numbers of Muslims, and there have been other Muslims we'll be reaching out to. So we have a broad coalition of the best of humanity fighting against this onslaught. This, we feel, is Munich times, and the appeasement that's occurring by, sad to say, by our own government is deadly. At this point, there is an enemy, and I think the world should understand it. And Christian Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, Coptic Christians,